Oh.
We are, big birds flying through.
Yes.
That's how we do it. In Mere Models, Meanderings.
Meanderings, folks. Welcome back.
It'll be a conversation. We might go deep, but it might not be profound.
It'll definitely be lighthearted. That's what's going to be.
So
maybe pragmatic takeaways.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. So first of all, we've got a new tagline. We've got a new catchphrase. It's deep conversations with a lighthearted touch. A little.
So why do we change it? Why the change?
Well, I think this will get onto one of my points we'll talk about, but I think it's okay to not know exactly what you're doing, not have exactly down pat, your purpose in life, your direction. And so we had before Striving for Excellence 3 Life's Lessons, which, it sort of captures what we're about, but if you look at it at a whole, it's sort of like, the book review is sort of, but not really. And all these sort of things, we looked at it and went, you know what, I'm not sure this really captures what we're trying to do here. So had a little bit of a think, a little bit of a rebranding. This might not be the last. I'll warn you right now.
No, it certainly won't be.
And I think that's okay. Like, if you're a giant company like Nike, maybe you need to stick with just do it. But there's others.
But even then, though, if you look at Nike since 1960
they've probably changed a lot.
Now, have a look at the logo. Have a look at every of the big companies' logos. Same with Apple. Apple's original logo used to be an apple with essentially sort of the rainbow color through it, and that changed like 10, 20 times.
Yeah.
So there's rebranding is not a new thing. It's not like even big companies don't do it. But it's almost, I don't know if we held back on changing it from before. We had discussions about, is it really meeting what we are actually doing? And I think we discussed it for about, a month or two before we actually went like, yes, this is it. There's a change to it now. And I don't think it was reservations behind us changing it. It was more, let's just think about what the actual thing is.
Yeah.
But I think people you should look forward to those changes.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good thing.
Yeah, okay.
But anyways, mere mortal moment.
That's it. All right.
Let's start with that. Let's get started with that.
Yeah, you'll like this
All
one.
right.
Take that big booty pick girl. It might just lead to inner peace or nirvana.
All right. I'll meander on that after I do mine.
Yeah.
Mine's also a topic, but we'll tell you. Mine's things that aren't your fault can still be your responsibility. Folks.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So, anyways, let's get back to booty pics. So, tell me, what do you mean by this?
So, I think it's okay to start something for the wrong reasons and not actually be sure, exactly what you're doing, and even have the wrong reasons for doing something and starting out. And it's just, you just got to work along the process to make sure it's actually aligning with something more valuable. So, some examples. Gym for big muscles. My motivation for going to the gym at the first was definitely, definitely a big booty. I needed a big booty, man, to take those big booty pics. Yeah. No, it was, I had a lot of body issues. I was very skinny and weak, and
as you can tell, folks, he still hasn't improved on it still. Yeah.
So my motivation was, look, I want to build some muscles. I want to look good. I want to impress girls. I want to be more attractive to other people, and it was probably like that for the first, I'll say year, maybe 2 years. And then it started to transform into something like, no, this is actually really fun. It's giving me a lot of confidence. And so it was more for the confidence reason, which drove me on. And then now it's like, no, it's pure joy. I really don't care. If I was really cared about aesthetics, I would probably do more leg work, because you don't do that much leg work in calisthenics. It's just hard. So it's transformed over time, and I think if you compare it now, my motivation for working out
completely different.
is in a more healthy mindset than it once was. So some other things related to this, Spanish. My first reasoning for that was, I guess, wanting to be a bit more interesting to other people, so I could say, I can speak Spanish.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of the other pickup artists when I was in that sort of community, that's what they were doing. Like, you got to acquire all these skills to seem interesting to people to be able to pick up girls. That was a motivation for me, and that changed to being, I guess a more of the love of the culture and the people. So, I think things can change like that. I think you can start things for the wrong reason, and you might find along the way that, you would hope along the way that your motivation would change, especially if it starts out for a bad reason. So
I like that. I do agree with that. As long as you stay open-minded enough that you will shift across to a maybe a more valuable, a more positive view on the way that you're interacting with it. So, I see a problem then if you begin, let's say, with going to the gym, and it's purely to look good for females, but then you get entrenched in that 2, 3, 4 years, and it's even more and more and more, and you make it that unless you go to the gym, like nobody will ever like you, and then you just dig yourself a deeper hole of the issue that you had before. So
or your self-worth is tied up with your ability to deadlift 350 kg. That's,
and if you can't, then you're not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. You're worthless. You're a piece of shit. So and I guess like getting to this is more the starting point, because you listen to a lot of podcasts or other people, and they say, you got to have your motivation set, and this ties into what we were talking about before. You got to know, you got to know what you're doing beforehand. You got to know who you're trying to target, and especially if you're looking into like the brand or marketing type of things, that's all they're about. Know your why, know exactly like this. And I think it's okay to not know exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
And just start off. So like, I don't think it's ridiculous to start a diet because you're being fat shamed. So because you feel you're fat, overweight, you think people don't love you, whatnot, I don't think it's ridiculous to do that, especially if you're, very obese and overweight. But along the way, I would hope that it would transition to realizing more, oh, you know what? Dieting is good because I'm actually a lot healthier
I'm getting
when I'm at, 70 kg rather than 350. That's what I would sort of say. So, if you're out there and you hear, oh, don't worry about fat shaming, don't worry about things like that, I would say, you know what? It's okay to start something for the wrong reason. But, just keep looking at it as you're doing it. And then if you're like, 150 kgs and you're at a very low weight and you're still feeling like absolute shit and nobody loves you and things like that, well, okay, I guess, maybe dieting isn't the correct thing for you to be doing right now. Maybe you should be focusing on other areas.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, where's the negative side of it? Where's the other spectrum? I think it's if, in all of those principles that we just talked about, all those examples, if you, were to get to the point that it's like, oh, now you're being driven by that, then it's like, okay, then you got to call them out and be like, okay. But it's not to say to people, don't start purely because you're afraid of that. It's no, just get started anyways. And as you go, just be open-minded enough to to learn from it and maybe shift as you're learning through it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, oh man, I really don't have that problem, because with being default, not aggressive, default assertive. I am, and we were having a chat, beforehand about the podcast and stuff. And to those who don't know me, again, I'm just a person who'd be like, if we're doing something, just like, yes, this is what we're doing, that's it, yep, let's do it right now, let's just go and change it right now, like, doesn't matter. I'm definitely a person who'll be like, I'd rather do it now, and I'll learn from it in the next 7 days and be like, okay, cool, that worked, yes, no, move on. Just trying to think of like that in everything. Not everything.
See, I'm actually trying to think of all of the things I'm like into now. Probably most of them were started with almost like a negative motivation.
What about handstands?
Handstands, calisthenics. Okay, maybe not that, but that's sort of like just transitioning out of.
Let's venture into this. Origin stories of the handstand.
Origin stories.
Where does that come from?
Oh, man, I'm trying to. I can't even really remember, to be honest. I think I just wanted to start doing more outdoor workouts because I was sick of the gym, and handstands are sort of just part of calisthenics, outdoor, really. Yeah. I can't remember exactly what that.
I mean, there's another example. It's obviously not for negative reasons, but it's still a case of you wanted to train outside for whatever the purpose is. So you started with a purpose, and it just eventually grew that you ended up doing handstands and enjoyed handstands and then pursued it that path. So it doesn't have to be negative. It could just be for whatever reason you just begun that conversation, and then that led you to a path of where you are now.
Yeah,
but you weren't, say, closed-minded enough to go, I'm not going to do handstands because I'm already not good at it, or whatever purpose.
Yeah, no. So like, let's take yoga, for example. I started yoga to be able to pick up girls. That was my reason for doing yoga. Not because my hamstrings were tight, which was.
It's all circling back to the same thing.
Yeah. So I did that. After a while, I realized, it's not the best, like, most appropriate place to be.
Yeah, doing this.
Especially if you're not, lacking confidence and whatnot. It's like, you fuck up. That's like going to the gym. Like, if you start hitting on girls there, unless you're pretty suave, like if you do it in a creepy way, you're going to get a reputation real quick. Yoga sort of similar.
Yeah.
So then I found like, oh, you know what? I actually really enjoy stretching, and that leads into some of the other things. a lot of the stuff I think I have started is similar to that.
Okay.
It's started with a negative reason, maybe a poor motivation, and now I look at it and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Okay. All right. I'm going to test your memory. I'm going to trickle it through because I got a question for you. I was thinking about this a little while ago. Oldest memory that you could remember or think about. Do you have one in your mind of like what's the oldest thing you can recall?
And I know how far. I think I've mentioned this before, but it was me crying because my friend Tyrone had to go home and I had to go for a nap. But I remember vividly looking out my window facing onto the his driveway and him walking up it. But I also vividly remember the bunk bed being in that room, and the bunk bed was never in that room, like never ever. So that's I think probably my oldest memory, because I would have been about maybe 4-ish around that time.
Now, here's my like follow up on this. So my oldest memory as well is maybe something when I was 4 years old, and I just remember holding this particular toy. It was a Brachiosaurus, I think they're called, the one with the long necks. What it was called, someone in the intel will correct me. But anyways, holding this little plush toy thing, and I was sitting on a chair. That was all I remember. Do you think it would be useful if, I don't know, if your parents kept track of this, or say by video, from when you were, let's not say 0, let's just say from 1 year old to 6 years old, and you could see a complete list of everything you did. So either by reading it or from a video. Do you think there'd be any benefit or value that you could extract from that? Because you know how people can say like, oh, sometimes the way you behave and you act can be by the way of, what you learned in those very, very young years, and that developed you into what you are today. Almost that subconscious setup that's been done. Would you find any value in that? Me
personally, everything? No, because it's hard to tell what really leaves an impression. There's moments I vividly remember which, were nothings to anyone else. Maybe they made a, slightly snide comment or something.
Well, sorry, valuable to you.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing I'm saying. Like, if I had access to everything, I'm sure there would be a couple of moments in there which would be interesting, but sorting through all that. And then would it actually trigger memories as well? I'm not so sure about that.
Okay. Yeah. Because the other thought I had was, we're now, I reckon, in the stage that most babies being born maybe in the last year or now, you're pretty much going to have your whole life documented from when you're a baby. Like in terms of pictures, not in like every minute, but you're going to have at least a picture or a video of almost a daily basis. Yeah.
I don't think that really means that much, to be honest, because it's going to be so selective. Like you're going to, you're going to have barely any pictures from night, for example, because they look shit. So pictures are better in day. So it's like you look through all this and you're like, oh, wow, apparently I just lived in perpetual daylight. No.
And you're not going to get pictures and videos where you like being an absolute shit and smearing shit on the walls.
Yeah, or on the toilet, or when your parents aren't there, or all those other assorted things. So when you're with your friends, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen. I'm not sure when parents give kids their phones nowadays. I don't imagine that many would have it below the age of 8.
I wouldn't imagine.
I
did know someone who, I can't remember, the kid was 7 or 8 and they had a phone.
Yeah. See, that's probably an outlier. I would guess.
Yeah. Jeez, can you imagine you having a phone when you were 7 or 8?
I don't even know what I would do with it. Like, what would I? I'd use it for games, I guess, like with my friends. But
yeah, well, can you imagine messaging people when you're 7 or 8 years old, just to try to talk? Because I'm sure you could talk to friends through Messenger or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't happen. I'm like super glad, because I feel like whatever I was doing during that time was more beneficial than doing that.
Exactly.
If you were walking around using bicycle, whatever.
Yeah, and so like those moments that are captured, well, they're sort of artificial in a way, because the moments of absolute fun with your friends when you're playing 44 home, I really hope they're not getting a camera out trying to capture that. I hope they're just living in the moment and being kids and whatnot.
I feel like it'd be the latter. But getting back to my moral moment of things that aren't your fault can be your responsibility still. So this comes down to also like things like extreme ownership, obviously taking responsibility of almost everything, even if it isn't your fault. And I was just thinking, well, there's definitely going to be places where you wouldn't take it that far. Like if someone commits murder and you're the supervisor and you say, well, it's my fault. It's my fault for a shit. Like, you're not going to do that.
Damn.
Or, other places. But aside from those edge cases, do you think generally as a rule,
I think that's
a good mindset?
I think that's a healthy mindset. Yeah.
I would say, and I've been pondering over it, I think it's a healthy mindset, but only if you're an individual that could handle such, I guess, increased stress or responsibility that comes with it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, and even me personally, I've even thought this in some days where, whether it's work or whether it's in relationships or talking to people, you'll take more responsibility of what's happening, even if it isn't your fault. Look at no, my fault because, I could have done this. Even if it was someone else, okay, maybe I didn't explain to them properly this, or et cetera, et cetera. But after a day, you can get really stressed out and almost like feel fatigued from taking on all that extra stress. So I'd say, yes, it sounds like a positive thing, but only if you're such an individual that could handle doing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay if you couldn't. It's almost like knowing, are you a person that could do that?
Yeah. There's so one of the books I was reading recently just got me thinking about ostracism and during...
Explain for the listeners, ostracism.
So basically being an outcast from your group. You're not wanted, you're not welcome.
So coming, I guess, from like being ostracized from an area.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this in reference to World War One, where, lots of soldiers at the front were like, these are the actual conditions at the front. They are hell. They are torture. Like, we're just wasting a generation here. Yet, if you compare that to the home front, where it was patriotic to the max, mothers saying, "I'm glad my sons are. I wish I could have more sons to
send them to war,
to war, to die in the front line."
Dang,
and
it's a brutal mum.
Yeah, well, it seemed to be.
I'd be a dad.
Well, you'd be pushing your sons in the front.
Well, it reminds me,
taking responsibility.
It's David Goggins, not David Goggins' son. There's another guy. Oh man, what was his name?
Cameron Haynes. Is that who you're thinking?
Is that the bowman? The ultra runner bow hunter?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, his son is the one who beat David Goggins' pull-up record, and the other one.
Well, that's what you told me. I don't trust your facts that much.
Yes, it is. So, this guy. Okay, yeah. No, I'll just listen to it just then. So it's like confirmed. And his other son is a ranger as well. And then this dude's just like, an absolute beast. Yeah. I'll get into that later. But
okay.
Yeah,
well,
beast.
Yeah. Well, the point is, I was thinking about it. That's, if you hear people saying, "Don't be a conformist. Don't conform to the gender stereotypes. Don't conform to all this stuff." The problem with that is, you're then taking like the responsibility for it. It is very hard being outcast from your group and, I guess, living in that sort of condition, that state.
That's segregated.
So I was thinking, like, there's there's a lot of benefits to conformity. You fit in with your group. You can just be casual, chilling out. Like, I don't need to always be questioning myself of what people are thinking and whatnot and all this other stuff. So it sort of gets onto that same sort of theme, I guess.
Yeah, and it depends. Yeah, it depends on who you are as an individual.
Yeah, like, can you take that responsibility? Can you take that pressure of being out on your own and whatnot? The only problem with that is, like, then you start getting into things like, I've always personally disliked it when people say, we need Christianity sort of like for the masses. Most people can't handle, like, I'm different. I can handle being without Christianity, but most other people need it. Yeah, I don't like that type of argument from someone. Yeah. I find that a bit Weasley.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard it, but I don't agree with
it. Well, a lot of people are like, opiate for the masses. Nietzsche was saying stuff like this. I think Karl Marx maybe came up with that, opiate for the masses. But it was essentially saying, like, Christianity or these big Abrahamic religions, we need this because people can't operate without
some sort of
like
some sort of structure for them.
Most of the people saying that don't think they are in that category. They can live without it. So it sort of gets to me like, I don't know. I hear that a lot. People can't handle this. I can personally do it, but other people can't handle social media.
Yeah.
Is that true then? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. That's just a point.
Yeah. Anyway,
what have you got to meander?
That's it. To be honest, man, I don't have anything too crazy.
Okay. Too crazy. Good. All right, we'll leave the meanderings there. That's going to be it for that. Of course, you heard us talk about this maybe recently. If you want to be hitting us up on the Instagram, change the name. Mere Mortals Podcast. Easy. No underscores, just easy to find. And YouTube. Now, Kyrin delayed in this. I'm not sure what was happening. But if you want to find us on YouTube, you could type in Mere Mortals. Or you could go youtube.com/Mere Mortals.
No.
You can do that. You can do that.
No, wrong.
All right, as you're discussing.
You need to put the C in as well.
Okay.
Because I tried that and it didn't It didn't work.
We have to try this live, ladies and gentlemen.
Live.
What other places can they find us, Kyrin?
That's about it, man. I mean, we've got a Facebook page, stuff gets posted there, but if you leave a comment or whatnot, it'll be a delay.
Directly, youtube.com/mereimmortals. Straight to the page.
Click on the top though, does it go to... Because I tried that and it didn't work for me just before.
Well, folks, we're going to see this. Ready? youtube.com/mereimmortals.
Okay.
It's going to be a search.
There you go. All right.
And it went straight to the actual YouTube.
We'll see.
So
I'm still not
But
convinced.
if it isn't though, practice around with a /C or just go into YouTube and search Meanderings podcast and you'll find us. So anyway, that'll make it easier if you want to be sharing it to your friends, because we will recommend, please share it with one other friend if you enjoy the podcast. If you've joined any of the podcasts, you'll be seeing a few changes as well coming in the future. So we'll keep them tight-lipped, but get excited for them. Get excited. That's all from us. Me Immortals. One out.
Kyrin out.
Hey.
Ga.